what suggestions would you have for us to avoid heat exhaustion? What do you see and how do you help people with that?
A lot of it is just having kind of common sense, thinking about what your pet is acclimated to. If they lay around on the couch all day in the air conditioning and you suddenly take them for a run in 95-degree weather, that's going to be a high risk thing, If they're used to being out in the heat and they're really fit and active normally, and you do want to run them, you can do it, but just as if you were going to start training for a marathon, you don't go out and you run 10 miles, you have to work up to it. Ideally avoid the hottest part of the day. Try to do morning or evening. And of course, certain breeds are really high risk. So dogs, of course, they don't sweat like we do to cool themselves down. Their main way that they can cool themselves down is with panting. And that moves a lot of air, and that air that's leaving their body is full of heat and is taking the heat away from their body. And then hopefully they're able to breathe in cool enough air to cool themselves down. But some breeds, especially like English bulldogs would be the classic one, they have a lot of difficulty breathing anyway. So they tend to have some obstructions in their upper airways that blocks good airflow. And so they are really high risk for overheating. So English bulldogs, even French bulldogs, even American bulldogs. I've seen a lot of American bulldogs for heat stroke down here. They just don't have the ability to cool themselves as well as other breeds. And so they should really avoid exercising in the heat, and even some of them just can't even tolerate being in the heat hardly at all.
Right. And so let's say we've done our best, taken all those precautions, but our dog does start overheating. What are the steps that pet parents should take for them to, avoid a major issue?
Yeah, so maybe some of the earlier signs that your dog is overheating is if they're kind of slowing down, not keeping up as usual, like say if you're on a run, or if they just go lay down and they're panting nonstop, trying to cool themselves down. In that case, what I would recommend is to make sure they have some cool water right away, and then get them into the air conditioning so they can go ahead and start cooling themselves off with the cold air. You have to be careful, because if it's more severe than that, it can become life-threatening very quickly. So if they, suddenly collapse, especially if they start vomiting or they start having diarrhea, those can be signs of heat stroke, which can be really severe. So in that case, I would get them into an air-conditioned car, turn the air conditioning on full blast, and go straight to the nearest hospital for them.
Got it.
Dr. Stepkak, should you ever use ice to cool the dog off? That's a big question I always hear.
Yeah, it's controversial. So they do have, I guess, some cooling ability. There will be heat coming off of their skin. So if you put ice water or ice on their skin, it will constrict the vessels right there. And so it can decrease their cooling ability if you're constricting the vessels in their outer skin, but their inner body temperature is too hot and that heat can't get out.
Yeah.
So I would say it's controversial. The other thing that happens is when we are cooling down a heat stroke patient, so maybe they come in with a temperature of 106 or 107, the goal is we cool them down until their temperature hits 103. And then what happens is they tend to go way too far in the other direction. So you stop all cooling efforts at 103 in the hospital, because their temperature is going to keep dropping a lot. And you can actually get them too cold and too low of a temperature and have problems from that too.
Wow.
So I guess I wouldn't recommend ice topically in the home environment, just in general. Ice water to drink is fine, if they're just like, just need to cool themselves off, but they're not sick.
Right.
I have heard that you could take a towel and just regular tap water and place it over them. Is that something that people should do, or avoid putting anything on top of them, like a cool, wet towel?
I would say, again, in the mild scenario where they're fine, they're not sick, they're just kind of trying to cool themselves down. If you do that, it would probably be fine, but you don't want to leave the towel on top of them. It's just to kind of like get their fur wet. So, and then you take it away, and if there's a fan or airflow that they can get in front of, that will help evaporate some heat.
Perfect. And continuing on the topic of heat exhaustion, how about when a dog is left in a car too long? I mean, how long is too long, and
Yeah.
how quickly does that temperature rise? And
Yeah, I mean, probably any amount of time is too long in Miami, because that's exactly how accidents happen. You know, someone thinks they're just going to run inside for 5 minutes, and then, of course, something happens, you get distracted, you forget, and suddenly it's 15 minutes, and that can be very dangerous.
yeah.
So just one quick little mental slip or mistake, you know, it's not worth the risk.
Especially now, especially in the summer.
In the summer,
Yeah.
it'd be brutal. Yeah.
Yeah.